Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be doing something very special, playing Corsair Cove on the highest difficulty that I can imagine. So, every difficulty setting here, I've maxed out. I have the least drifters, highest upkeep, smallest pirate camp rate, least island resources, the worst starting location I could find. I'm on the hardest map, the ship graveyard, and I will build no more than 5 total pirate camps. I can delete one and move it around, but I'll only have 5 total at any given time. And so this is going to be a pretty difficult challenge, or at least it would be if I played like the game wanted me to. But instead, I'm going to be using some mechanics that a certain British YouTuber would describe as fair and balanced to make this into a piece of cake. For now, we're going to start out by just doing some of the basics. Setting up a few tents here. Actually, that's probably too many. I don't want to waste resources. A sawmill. A couple of campfires. Of course, connect a galley there. Tavern, definitely going to need one of those. A moonshine still, and last but not least, a warehouse which I can use to centralize resources. So now let's just let everything build for a couple minutes. Alright, with everything built, time to construct my first ship. And this is the first part of not doing things the game wants me to, because the game wants me to connect to this wreck. But because we're playing on such high difficulty settings with such a small radius of a pirate camp, I can't actually do that without building a second camp. And I don't want to do that. So instead, I'm just not going to. No, look, the island's cursed. Yep, that's part of why this map's so hard. And now it's off to the high seas we go. So now, I have a whole world to explore. And this is where the next part of the map comes in. Because instead of just having the regular events, there's also golden chain traders, where I can send my ship to buy stuff, these merchant ships, which I can raid for a whole bunch of resources, and these supply racks, which I can hit to get stuff like wood for free. So yeah, as it turns out, not being able to connect to that shipwreck, not a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the free stuff. And you know what? I'm going to start with this jetsam over here. Then kind of just circle around. And while my ship is on the way to collect stuff, I'm going to go ahead and build a quarry, start manufacturing stone blocks, and build a second sawmill, because pretty soon I'm going to have more planks than I know what to do with. Go ahead and sacrifice some crew to get a whole bunch of coin. That'll totally pay off very soon. And my next goal is to get tier 2, or more accurately, tier 2 plus ships. I think I'm going to go for a notoriety victory here, so I want the azimuth. That means 3 here, 3 here. And I might as well make a steel edge as well, so that's going to be another 3 here. Luckily, a lot of these are going to be pretty easy, like completing 5 events with Teach and pillaging a crown port. Or simply, salvaging some wrecks from sunken ships, like those supply wrecks, or having a fleet of 2 ships. And since I'm going to need it anyway, where is the nearest pier? Ah, right over here. So that's 1 wreck, that's 2 wrecks, adding some drifters here. I'm going to go with a big plus 25. Go ahead and grab this supply wreck over here for even more wood. Grab the drifting castaways, then head back to harbor, at least for now. And Teach is back, with plenty of resources, including way more wood than I'm going to need. Also, 30 drifters, which is pretty helpful. So, time to refill the crew and head back out to raid that crown port. In the meantime, I'm just going to set everything up over here with my second pirate camp. Since it's going to be home to a ship, I might as well get some booze and some food going. And since I have a few more resources than I did before, I'm going to go with 3 camps instead of the 2. Time to raid the crown port. I should have more than enough damage to more or less just spam attack over and over until the enemy dies. Yep, worked pretty well. So I need to set up a rope maker. Or I can do that. I need to set up a fiber harvester. And again, unfortunately, they're all just out of range, which means I'm going to have to make a dedicated pirate camp just for fiber. Like I said, this is the worst possible starting spot. And you might notice that right now, all of my pirate camps are losing happiness. That's because if you fail to provide housing or an upkeep resource, pirates don't tend to be very patient, which might be a problem, or it might be exactly the thing that I need to happen. That's where those fair and balanced mechanics come in. Oh look, the outrage has started. this is where you get to do something cool. See, the intended way to deal with his event is you either set it aside if you really can't deal with it, or you do something to appease the pirates. This means providing the satisfaction they require. But you have 20 minutes to do it. So I'm going to select this, and simply forget about it. This also means that since my camps are all falling into outrage, I no longer need to do things like provide them with food. That's right, if they're going to be rioting anyway, I don't need to worry about providing them with the resources that they're rioting about. I can go ahead and delete that. The galley I technically need, but I don't need to send the resources there. Now, leaving all of my pirate camps in permanent outrage is going to be a drain on my cohesion. If I lose all cohesion, I lose the game. But that doesn't matter, thanks to this fun building in the Empire tree. The gibbet. The way it works is simple. Whenever you build a gibbet, it requires one drifter. That drifter is permanently locked in the cage. For each gibbet that you build, you gain 5 cohesion. If you delete the gibbet, you lose 5 cohesion. But as long as I don't have to delete all the gibbets, I can build as many as I want and get infinite cohesion. So that's what I'm going to do every time it gets low. Alright, 3 notoriety points complete. Now I can build an azimuth and my other dock. I've already gone ahead and started the steel edge. It's also been about 20 minutes, which means all that anchor is about to boil over. Luckily, that's not going to be a problem, because remember, I can just build gibbets if I end up being short. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and preemptively build a second gibbet. Turns out your problems in this game aren't real problems, so long as you have money. So at this point I have 2 options. The first is that I could deal with rising outrage, where effectively I lose 50 total cohesion over 30 minutes. Or I could just feed them to the sharks. I'd ignore the problem for now. And so now let's jump ahead until both of the T2 plus ships have finished construction. And now look, while I was waiting for my T2 plus ships to finish, I got the Despicable Tradings event. This allows me to get a whole bunch of money in exchange for sabotaging one of my production lines. At least, if you play as intended. Because the other thing I can do is go ahead, make a powder mill, grab resources for that ASAP, because I am on a timer. Now to actually produce black powder, I need a source of guano, and I need a source of charcoal. But the merchant doesn't know that. So I'm going to split my black powder production, like so, get my 700 coins, and delete my powder mill. Free money, no downside. And in that time, my ship's construction finished. So I'm going to go ahead and build a cassava oven. This is going to be needed to make cassava bread. I'm also going to go ahead and build a warehouse to store both my cassava bread and the room that I'll be building here shortly. Now for that, you need salt, usually from a saltern, which is not in range, so I can't do that. That's fine, because I have plenty of salt here. And cassava, which normally you'd grow, but in this case is going to come from a wreck that, thankfully, is in range. Otherwise, I'd actually legitimately have some problems. So I'm just going to go ahead and daisy chain a couple of warehouses. And it should be close enough. I can use some zip lines. So now I connect here to grab cassava from the wreck. Then connect here to grab cassava from the warehouse, like so. Before finally grabbing cassava and salt. And I should probably do something to get that salt to a better spot. I'm sure it'll be fine. That's the one advantage of doing it this way. I don't need that much of each resource. And so now my warehouse is going to be grabbing and storing cassava bread, and also rum once I end up producing that. This will allow me to recruit scallywags, as there's both an upfront recruitment cost and a maintenance cost. And while I do, I'm going to build a whole bunch of crow's nests, a very spammable building that's going to give me 20 coins every time I explore a region of the 7 seas. And there are a lot of regions to explore. Let me go ahead and delete those to make room for a Shrine of a Sea. That way, as I complete missions, my ships get buffs. Build one more crow's nest here. There we go. I've fully crewed my ship. Now, I need to get some resources to make rum, which means hitting this merchant ship over here. The first up, close distance, should be very easy indeed. Then shoot him up a bit, like so. Easy loot. Might as well hit the other one while I'm here, because it's free resources. They are literally just sitting there. And with that, I don't need cassava from the wreck anymore. Which also means I'm going to start producing rum. That's going to go into here. And so I can also hire picaroons and fully crew this ship very soon. But while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and reveal some new regions of the map. This way, I'll get some nice exploration bonuses in the form of extra coin. And now look, I could get 320 coins by robbing my drifters. But nah, taxes aren't the answer. I'd rather just generate money out of thin air, thank you very much. It's a trick that more governments should adopt. Now I currently have 6 crow's nests. So when I go ahead and enter here, plus 120 coins. And I'll go ahead and select notoriety because that's the victory path I'm planning to pursue. Also, while I'm here, I might as well go activate the Ancient Archipelago. And oh look, another plus 120 coins. And since I have the coin, I can, of course, build 2 more crow's nests. Because of their height, they're really awkward to build, but also because of their height, they act as pretty good connector points. You know what? Let's complete Phoenix on the run along the way. Since this is a T2 plus ship, my stats way outweigh the requirements, so this is going to be very easy. Like, prevent 1 to 4 meters of gain. Okay, I will just gain 130. Charts, unfortunately, it's down to RNG, but hey, daring scouts is fine. The other advantage of a higher tier ship, extra supplies. Now to get away, which again will be very easy. And done. Which also tops up my cohesion a bit.
I'll leave you at the next port and make for the Wildfire Isles.
Oh no, they're not happy. Whatever will I do? I guess I'll just click the button that makes this later me's problem. So, minus 50 cohesion? No big deal. And to counteract that, I will spend some of the money that I just earned, like so. So from here I have a couple new goals. The first of which is, get enough money to keep ahead of my cohesion drain. Because since everything's in unrest, I'm always going to be losing cohesion. But second of all, since I can keep ahead of it fairly easily, I need to unlock enough notoriety points that I get to the Tier 4 Vulture. This is a Prowler Plus ship that has some decent combat stats, and is also pretty darn good for notoriety missions. I'm going to be able to build this, probably 2 of them, and use them to complete the next steps in my goal, plus defend my base if I do happen to be attacked. And if you're wondering how I'm going to get those points, it's by exploring these nearby regions and completing their regional quests. Things like checking the abandoned settlement to find the Fountain of Youth. As always, I'm slowly losing cohesion, so occasionally I'll be building some new gibbets, or completing quests that I can totally just crush as a good way to get a little bit of extra. So now I'm going to complete all the events in the area and jump ahead. Before I do, if you've been enjoying the video, you want to see more, maybe you want to see some guides, reviews, whatever I feel like, get subscribed, ring that notification bell, and hey, leave a like while you're down there. But now I'm going to jump ahead to after I unlocked both Tier 4 plus ships. And there we go. Tier 4 plus ships unlocked. But first, before I can build them, I need a trade pier. So I'm going to set that to upgrade, and set this to upgrade. In addition, I've taken the time to build some shipwrights guild halls. This will make it much cheaper to both buy and repair my ships. On top of that, you might have noticed that the radius around my pirate camps is bigger. No, I'm not cheating. I'm just using a regular building called the Spy Nest. This extends pirate camp range and makes it far more tolerable if you shrink it down to the minimum. Now that I've upgraded my dock, the next logical step is to upgrade my ships. So I'm going to be building a Ravager, the Destroyer Plus, which requires 6 planks, 4 rope, not very big ship, 4 sails, which I don't have, and 5 pitch, which I also don't have. So I'm going to have to get those real quick. Luckily, that's going to be pretty easy, because all I have to do is build a single building for each step in the production line. So first up, sails. This requires cloth, and cloth requires fibers plus wooden tools. So I go ahead and build the wood workshop. Then, because this is now in range, I can harvest fiber here, and I can go ahead and build that to produce sails, this to produce the cloth. That'll all be taken care of, and I will grab some wood from storage. That way it's a little bit less of a distance. Next up, the tar boiler. Handily, this requires barrels, which I'm already producing at the Cooper. So that's one step down. But I'll also need a tar kiln, which requires a char burner. This is where things get slightly unfortunate because I don't have a great spot to put this, as ideally I want it to be near enough to grab the wood, and also, that can go away for another 30 minutes. So, I need it to be near enough to grab the wood, also near enough to grab the stone. Let's see if I can find a spot. Ah, right there. Perfect. That should be close enough if stuff's good enough. I don't need the char burner to be at 100% efficiency. In fact, I don't need either of these production lines to be at really any level of efficiency, because I'm just going to stockpile the resources in a warehouse and forget that it exists. Similarly, I also want to build a vulture, which thankfully requires sails, but it also requires figureheads. So, same thing, different production line. This time, the Master Carver needs wood and pigment. And I'll go ahead and put the Master Carver here. I'll also go ahead and draw these cochineals up from my harbor. Gonna need those to make pigment, like so. But the pigment maker also requires lime, and thankfully, there's a lime kiln right here. So, there we go. Just need to connect this over like so, and it should be close enough that I don't need to do anything special. And again, I'll store a whole bunch of these over in my warehouse. That way I can just keep them around, and I won't need them ever again, even if my production lines falter. And so now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but with all of the supplies that my crews need. Normally, I'd have to set up careful supply lines, so that I can distribute these resources via things like a barber surgeon. But remember, we are going for max cheese, so I'm not going to be doing any of that. Instead, I'm going to be building the distribution buildings, and intentionally not connecting them to my production buildings. My production buildings get connected to a warehouse. So I produce a resource, I can use it to recruit crew members, I can use it to pay for things, and I never have to pay any upkeep. Will this mean my crew is perpetually rioting? Yes. Can they do anything about it? No. So time to fully crew both of the ships. And while at it, I might as well add one more to boot. Before I can fully crew everything though, I do need one more resource, that being tobacco. And as a raid resource, sadly I can't produce it on my island. Now luckily, I have a fairly easy way to get tobacco. I just need to send my shiny new ship to the ancient archipelago.
We strike fast and we strike hard. We have no time to walk, they surrender quickly. We take all that isn't nailed to back home and resupply.
There we go, back in port. And now I can go to manage crew, hire everyone I need.
I'm waiting.
Let's test out the T4 ship against this very poor crown attack that's not going to have a good time. So my opening salvo does 162 to 170 damage. Now I prevent all of their damage and sink them. Yep, seems like my T4 plus ship, pretty good. So I'm going to send this ship around and start completing main story missions. My next ship I'm going to use to try to get 30 points in notoriety, because that way I can unlock the T6 ship. Just like how I completely skipped T3 because they kind of suck, I'm going to skip T5, because they also kind of suck. This will of course come with new resources, but that only matters if you actually collect the resources and pay them. If you get a small amount of each, not a big deal at all. One advantage of using this tier 4+ ship for the tier 3 mission, my stats are absolutely ridiculous. I did nerf enemy gun damage, but even then, doesn't matter. This is the only problem. Deal 1 damage to supply for every 100 meters. Normally, the damage prevented and the distance gained tends to match if using an on-tier ship. I am very much not, so I have to skip that one. Like, damage to hull? Doesn't matter. Survive? Who needs to survive? I can just use it to farm treasure. Gain edge. Another dice-based one, so I guess my fancy ship doesn't really help you. Should still be very easy nonetheless. I totally misclicked, took a little damage. Whoops. Not that it matters at all. And so that, off to the Wildfire Isles. So now, I'm going to take my shiny new T4+ ships and head around to hit all of the notoriety events. If I betray Audenzia, I should have just enough to get me over the 30-point threshold. That will not only unlock tier 6 ships, but also give me the Ocean Coliseum, which I can use to make things a little bit easier. And so while I grind that out, let's do one more big time skip. Then I'm going to choose a few more resources, build my T6 ships, and win the game. Okay, here we are. Let's take a look at the compass. I now have 30 points, so I've unlocked the Wraith, the tier 6 Prowler. I've also unlocked and built myself an Ocean Coliseum, so I can't fail from crew loss. On the way, I grabbed a few points in the wealth tree to get a grand market. This is capable of supplying one of the resources that I'm going to need for the tier 6 ship. So I'm building a grand market here. This is my Ocean Coliseum. I've got a Bounty Hunters Guild Hall. And I deleted one of my pirate camps, the one over here, specifically so I could move it here to get myself lead and copper, because this is the give all of your pirates heavy metal poisoning phase of the build. Now the Wraith is crewed by renegades and corsairs. Renegades require hardtack and prosthetics. Corsairs require fancy clothes, jewelry, and pistols. And making all three is going to be very resource intensive, so I'm not going to be doing that. Instead, I'm going to go to the Grand Market and simply buy a whole bunch of fancy clothing. To do another material shortcut, I'm going to have Raven do a special event in the Wildfire Isles, sacrificing some gold, and then looting all of these beaches because I've now scared the crabs away. That said, fire will rain from the sky, so I have to be a little bit careful while harvesting, but hey, anything that's worth doing, you kind of sacrificed a couple pirates to do it. And the reason I'm doing this is it unlocks the Booty Beaches, which has all sorts of valuable resources. For example, shot. Also, pearls. So after doing a bit of raiding with Raven, I have plenty of materials. This pier has all the shot I'm going to need, plus some jewelry. This pier has all the herbs, the wood, the steel, all that stuff. I've added the new production buildings here and there. Haven't been too careful about it because it doesn't really matter. Remember, I don't need to pay upkeep. I don't need proper supply lines. So I can just go, hey, I have shot here. I am now grabbing the shot from the pistol makers. The jeweler has a little bit of a problem because he needs to get pearls. Pearls, whoops, gotta deal with a mutiny, happens all the time. So pearls are over here. Again, I'm just gonna use aerial lifts, chain it into this warehouse, which originally was used for turtles. Now it's gonna be used for pearls. Basically just passed all the way along, grabbed by the jeweler. Now I am stockpiling everything up. I'm going to go to the Bloody Bastille to grab some drifters. Then I'm going to recruit a full crew and win the game. So as it turns out, it doesn't matter how horribly inefficient your supply network is if you never spend anything on upkeep resources. And so I have now fully crewed a tier 6 ship, and I'm still not paying upkeep. And so from here, there's only one thing left to do: win the game. So first, I'm going to head to the Writhing Deep. This way, I can do the Tier 5 mission with my Tier 6 ship. After that, I'll do the Proclamation of Notoriety. This makes Admiral Machado very angry and sets you on the path to victory. and then wrap up just a couple more quests in Wildfire Isles before my final confrontation. Then wrap up a couple quests in the Wildfire Isles before my final confrontation with Rupert Killigrew, which if successful will set me up to use his undead fleet to win the game by destroying Fort Vandekroon. Alright, it's come down to this. The final matchup between me and Killigrew. This is going to make all that pain and suffering for all of those pirates locked in the gibbets for the entire game so that I could cheese this totally worth it.
We're coming for you, Killigrew. Face us if you
First
dare.
up, lower his gun damage, and not that good, okay. Did not roll particularly well.
Scarlet drink. Come hither and parley. Your words shall be the measure of your soul.
Hopefully I roll better from here on out, because this is a dice-based challenge. So I'm just going to alternate between preventing losses and using Silver Tongue to gain advantage. That's very close. But no, I better play it safe.
Our souls are
On to the
more
next.
than the rough black sliver that is your own. You will submit.
Now, gain advantage again. Hopefully the dice will favor me. Looks like they will. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use that. Now I need to survive. This is where the poor roll on the gun damage might come back to bite me. First one. Old God's Favor. Yep. That'll hurt. That is a lot of damage, and I can only mitigate one. I think I'm going to take the health damage, mitigate the crew this time, and I'll do the opposite next time.
It takes more than that to kill
Now,
legend, Killigrew.
time to gain edge. Luckily, he didn't use the dual strike.
Now face us.
I'll probably take some chip damage, but that's okay. Oh yeah, definitely going to take some chip damage here and there. Especially if he does stuff like that. But I'm very close. And if I roll well here, I just win. Not quite lucky enough. Alright, probably shouldn't have done that. Probably should have played it safe. Now I win for sure. And with that, Killigrew is bound. It's time to unleash the Reaper.
No walls nor weapons can ward off death incarnate. Today, Fort Vandekroon falls to nightmares from beyond.
That is how you turn hard mode into super easy mode. And so that's the end of my turning hard mode into easy mode challenge run. Going into this, I wasn't 100% sure how it was going to go, because I'd never actually just sat in permanent negatives, especially in the early game. Late game, T5, T6, I've done it before. Turns out, even early game, it's not that hard. Maybe I could have even done it right from the start. Fun fact, you can go even further if you want a more degenerate way to do things. Instead of simply ignoring all of the outrage, you can also straight up delete pirate centers and still use the ships and still use the docks. This completely deletes the upkeep cost. I didn't feel the need to go that far because if I was going to have one center in outrage, I might as well just have 5 in outrage, and I wasn't paying the upkeeps anyway. But in a game where you don't want to sit in permanent outrage, that is another very fun, fair, and balanced viable option. It also turns out that out of all the difficulty modifiers, the worst one was probably the pirate camp radius. That was genuinely inconvenient, again, in the early game. The rest of them didn't really matter because I was just ignoring all the things that normally would make it problematic. Even then, yeah, my main camp got crowded, didn't matter that much. That's it. If you want something else to watch, I don't have any more challenge run style videos for Corsair Cove, but I did do one for a different city builder, Anna 117 Pax Romana, where I tried to build a city, maintain a large population, and do it only by trading. That'll be up in the card and down below. On the other hand, if you want to see more stuff like this, do be sure to get subscribed. I'm not really a challenge run or challenge mode channel, but I do occasionally do some wacky stuff, especially when I find a cool way to break a game. Now, on the other hand, if you want to learn more about playing Corsair Cove, let's call it the intended way. Don't worry, I've got you. I have plenty of videos. Also, if you want to learn more about Corsair Cove, maybe you haven't played it yet, you want to know what's the quote-unquote intended way to play it, I'll link to my complete guide for Corsair Cove, along with a review going over some of my broader thoughts on the game. For now, thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.